All right, hello kids, good evening or good morning, depending on when you're tuning in to watch this. This is our Bible study message for the children's message this week. And I wanted to talk to you about this. This is actually a nickel in my hand. And it's only worth 5 cents, so it's not worth that much. And people don't even use these things that much anymore. Usually you swipe a credit card or a debit card. But this has value. And I want you to think about the value that you have. Maybe if you've done something around the house, your parents have given you a little bit of an allowance or a few nickels or a few dollars. There's a story where Jesus talks about people who were given talents. So I want you to learn that word today. It's called a talent. And it just means some measure of value, some measure of money, like this. This could be like a talent, but it's not really a talent the way the Bible uses it, but it's a measure of value, some type of money, like a dime or a nickel. And he gave different talents to different people. Now, when you hear the word talent, you might also hear of the way we use the word talent, which is just things that you're good at, things that you have gifts to do. So maybe you have a talent of being really fast, or maybe you have a talent of being very musical. Maybe you can sing really well. Maybe your voice is really beautiful. Maybe you have a talent of being really strong or really smart, or maybe you're really good at art. Maybe your talent is that you're really good at finger painting or drawing pictures. Maybe you're really good at video games. We all have different types of talents. And so Jesus talks about that. He says that actually you've been given a certain amount of talents by God. And so the story goes like this in Matthew 25. It's where Jesus says the parable of the talents. For it will be like a man going on a journey who called his servants and entrusted to them his property. To one he gave 5 talents, to another he gave 2, and to another he gave 1, each according to their ability. And then it says that he went away. And it says he who received 5 talents went at once and traded them, and he made 5 more talents. So the guy who had 5 talents went and traded those talents, which is like money, and he traded it and he made 5 more. So he had 5 plus 5, which is 10. So he had 10 talents then. And so also he who had 2 talents made 2 talents more. But the one who received the 1 talent went and dug in the ground and hid his master's money. So the one guy who had 1 talent went and dug a hole in the ground and put it in there for safekeeping. But he didn't invest it. He didn't turn it into even more money. It says, now after a long time the master of those servants came and settled accounts with them. And he who had received the 5 talents came forward, bringing 5 talents more, saying, Master, you received to the one 5 talents. Therefore, he says, here I have made 5 more talents. And his master said to him, well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful over a little, and I will set you over much. Enter into the joy of your master. And he also went to the other one who had 2 talents, and he came forward, saying, Master, you delivered to me 2 talents. Here I have made 2 talents more. And the master said the same exact thing. He said, well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful over a little, and I will set you over much. Enter into the joy of your master. And he also went to the one who had 1 talent. And the guy who had 1 talent, listen to what he said. He said, Master, I know you to be a hard man, reaping where you do not sow, and gathering where you do not gather seed. So I was afraid, and I went and hid my talent in the ground, where here, have what is yours. But his master wasn't happy with that answer. His master said, you wicked and slothful servant, you knew that I reap where I do not sow and gather where I do not gather seed. Then you ought to have invested my money with the bankers, and at my coming I should have received what was mine with interest. So take this talent from the one and give it to the one who had 10 talents. So I'm going to stop the reading there. So I just want to recap for the time we have in this video, what that means. That story I just told you, I want you to understand what that means. So there was a man who was given 5 talents. So we have 5 nickels here, you can see on the screen. And there was another man who was given 2, and there was another man who was given 1. And so what you can do with money is you can put it in different places and invest it in things like the stock market or savings accounts. And over time, what happens with money is money becomes more valuable over time if you invest it in things. And so what that guy did is he took 5 nickels, talents you could say. And what he did is he was very busy with the talents that God gave him. And so when the master came back to see what he's been doing with his talents, he came to the master with this many talents. So I want you to just see that. Here is 5. This is what he originally had. And then he made 5 more, and that's 10. Look how much different proportionally. Look how much bigger that is. So when the master came back, he said, wow, you doubled what you had. And he was very happy with that he used the talents for a good reason. And so the other man had 2, and he was very busy too. And he didn't make as much as the man who had 5, but he made 2 more. He still doubled what he had too. So he did pretty much the exact same work with a different number. The guy had 5 and he doubled it to 10. The man had 2 and he doubled his to 4. And the master wasn't angry with him because he didn't have 10. The master said, hey, you had 2 and you turned 2 into 4, and I'm happy with you. Good. He said, well done, good and faithful servant. And now this one guy who only was given 1 talent, which I hope that you can say that you have more than 1 talent in your life. There's lots of things you can do, right? Well, he was afraid, and he said he didn't want to do anything with his money because he said the master was a cruel and harsh man in doing things that reaping where he did not sow and gathering fruit where he gathered no seed. And the master said, if you thought I was that way. Notice the master didn't say, I am that way. I am a cruel and harsh man. But he adopted what he said as a truth. And he says, so if I am harsh and cruel, wouldn't you have at least put this money in the bank? If I put my money in the bank, I make a little bit of money for nothing. I don't do anything. I don't work hard for it. But I put a little money in the bank, and you still will make a little bit more. You might not double your money, but you might turn 1 talent into a few more fractions of a talent or whatever. You make a little bit more money. And he said, why didn't you do that? Why did you dig a hole and put it in your hole and not use that talent at all? And so now I want you to think about that in your life. And at the end of the story, it says, take the 1 talent that was given to the one person who didn't use it and give it to the guy who had 10. So now the guy who had 10 talents actually has 11 talents now. And then Jesus said this, to those who have much, much will be given so that they will even have more. And that those who have little, even what they have will be taken away. So I want you to think of all the talents that God's given you. I want you to think of how smart you are, how clever you might be, how strong you might be. Right now you're really young and you have a lot of days ahead of your life. How are you going to use those days? You only get so many days to live, so you have to use that time really well. So think about all these talents you have and realize that God has given you lots of talents. What are you going to do with them? Because they're not actually yours, and that's the trick. See, the one guy who had 1 talent, he thought that that talent was owned by his master, which he's right, it was. And since he didn't really own the talent, he said, since it's your talent you're giving me and you're looking to get fruit where you didn't sow any seed, I didn't want to work for you because I wasn't going to get anything in return. That's not the right way to look. Everything you have has been given to you by God. Your mom and your dad, your family, your life, it's all been given to you by God. So now you have to turn that back to him in praise and worship and honor. And if you can do that, you're going to create more talents. You're going to be the guy that had 10 talents and was even given 11. If you can be faithful with what God gave you. So I want you to think about that in your nickels. Think about these nickels. How many nickels do you have at home? Do you have any money saved up? And what do you think about your money? Is that your money or is it God's money? What do you think about all the things you like to do that get you excited and things that you're really good at? Are those talents or abilities you have, are those given to you by God or are they just yours? They're really God's. So think about all the things you can do. Run, jump, and play. You can see, you can smell. You've been given so many things to do in this life, and they're actually all God's. So try to turn that back to him in prayer and praise and worship, and try to use your life to serve Jesus Christ. So that's the message of the talents. I want you to think about that, and we'll talk again next week. Goodbye.